Number 4, Tsumura Tokiko from Busorenkin. Now, Busorenkin is my favorite manga of all time. Hands down, period. And my favorite character in my favorite manga is the female lead, Tokiko. In an action-oriented story, I want to see female characters who contribute to the action. I don't expect that they will always be the strongest fighter or the main hero, but I want to see them holding their own and being useful. Is that so much to ask? Well, apparently it is, as respectable female warriors are few and far between in fiction. Not just Japanese stuff, the West has a lot to answer for as well. But they do crop up on occasion, and one of the best is Tokiko, an alchemic warrior who protects the innocent from 9 indestructible man-eating monsters. Oh, and her fighting instinct manifests as these spider legs with scythe endings. Tokiko starts out much stronger than the main character, but over time is surpassed by him. She also gets somewhat more feminine as the series goes on, but this isn't really a case of badass decay. Tokiko's softening feels less like she's becoming feminine and more like she's becoming human. See, Tokiko's identity as a warrior has long since eclipsed her identity as a person. And as the story goes on, we see her begin to discover ordinary human interactions and act more like a normal teenager. And of course, even when the male lead is stronger than Tokiko, she doesn't just stop fighting and sit on the sidelines. Right up to the last volume, Tokiko is kicking her fair share of ass and spouting off her brutal mantra of, "I'll splatter your guts." Actually, that catchphrase is what really cements Tokiko as a badass for me, and one scene in particular. There's one guy who has the power to shrink people, and he apparently shrinks Tokiko down into nothing and kills her. He crows and gloats about it until Tokiko's voice cuts him off. Not sure how it's audible, but who cares, it's awesome. She explains that he misjudged her height by about a centimeter, so she's still around, albeit tiny. Then she says, "I've never tried this from the inside before, but..." And the villain starts to realize where she is, and he freaks out and begs her like, "Wait, stop, don't! I'll splatter your guts!" And then she digs her way out of his stomach alien style while I cackle gleefully. Now that is badass. Number 3. Sawada Tsunayoshi from Katekyo Hitman Reborn. This slot almost went to Hibari from the same series. It also almost went to Gokudera, and Yamamoto, and Reborn. KHR has more badass than it knows what to do with. Now I remember the first episode of Katekyo Hitman Reborn I ever saw. I quickly sorted out who was a good guy and who was bad, but I was having a hard time figuring out who was the main character. Who really stood out and felt like main character material? I was starting to settle on Gokudera. Unusual silver hair, an awesome weapon that was both simple and versatile, a cute little spectral cat partner. Yeah, he could definitely make it as a main character in a shonen anime. Then we cut to Suna, a little tongue of flame smoldering on his forehead, his face a subtle expression of determination with a hint of anger. I saw the targeting sequence for the X-Burner, culminating in this massive annihilating burst of fire. After that, there was no doubt. This guy is the main character. By the tender age of 12, Sawada Tsunayoshi has already managed to become a complete failure with no future. Then it turns out he's descended from a mob boss and has been declared the next heir to the Mongola Familia. The gimmick early on is that his tutor uses this special dying will bullet to kill him, take the regrets of his last moments, and then use them to resurrect him with a burning passion to do the things he always wanted to do, but never had the courage. But it's not until the introduction of the rebuke bullet, which shows him how he'd be letting other people down, his friends and family, and resurrects him on a desire not to let them down, that he really becomes worthy of this list. Because like Natsu, Suna is the type who will go to any ridiculous length for the ones he cares about. Suna hasn't really evolved beyond the failure kid who doesn't want anything to do with the Mafia, but now he has a lot of friends who are part of the Mafia, and when his friends are in danger, he steps up to the plate and hits a home run. It doesn't matter how many times I see it, how little a deal they make of it. When I see Suna light the dying will flame, switch from a shy, kind-hearted coward to a cold fury badass, I can't not grin, because I know something awesome is about to happen. Number 2. Vash the Stampede from Trigun. Vash the Stampede, the humanoid typhoon, the $60 billion double-dollar man. Do I really have to say anything else? Really? Okay, well, first things first. Why not Legato? I think Legato was actually on both lists I saw on that guy with the glasses. And, well, he's certainly intimidating and creepy, but I don't know. Maybe it's just that I haven't seen every episode, but Legato just doesn't wow me the way Vash does. Vash is silly. Just silly. He's a hopeless skirt chaser, hopeless everything, really. He's almost always broke, he gets kidnapped and tied up all the time. He's pushed around by drunks and beat up by kids. How could anyone for a minute think this guy is a badass? Well, because the first time he fires a gun, it's to deflect the enormous whirling death fist of a two-story mutant cyborg, using just 6 shots from an ordinary revolver. Nay, a poor revolver with bad aim, thus saving about half a dozen injured women and children. Actually, he only used 5. The 6th he reserved to shoot a part of the machinery and send the giant fist careening back to take out the giant mutant cyborg and the doctor who built it. Non-lethally, mind you, because Vash doesn't kill as a rule. In fact, whenever possible, he avoids hurting anyone at all, and tries to prevent people from hurting or killing each other. And this frequently is possible, because Vash is amazing. Did I mention that, standing on the sidelines of a quick-draw duel, he can throw rocks so fast and so precisely as to change the course of the bullets and prevent fatalities without even getting caught interfering? Seriously, wow. Add to that, he's got a pretty good look, too. A long red coat, intricate gloves, a few piercing, and those glasses. I love his shades. So when he decides it's time to stop being silly, he's already dressed for awesome. He's really a great character, but he still only makes it to number 2. The number 1 badass in anime is Monkey D. Luffy from One Piece. I can pinpoint the exact moment that Luffy became truly badass for me. It was when he introduced the technique Gear Second. He settles into a great pose, legs set wide, leaning forward with one hand on his knee, head lowered a bit so his eyes are lost in the shadows while steam swirls around his body. He tells his opponent that from here on, all his techniques will evolve by 1 level. Then he completely turns the tables on this guy who had been mopping the floor with him. He's faster, he's stronger, and he's perceptive enough to figure out the enemy's techniques mid-battle so that he can copy them later. It was pretty freaking awesome. Now, if Fairy Tail is the new up-and-comer of the shonen world, One Piece is the reigning champion. And Luffy falls very much in the same archetype as Natsu and, to a lesser extent, Suna. A silly, smiling guy who doesn't seem the least bit threatening until his friends, or the things they care about, are in danger. Now, anyone who knows anything about anime knows the basics of who Luffy is. He's a guy made out of rubber who wants to become the Pirate King. What puts Luffy above the crowd is that, being a pirate, the law is against him. The odds against him are on a completely different scale than a lot of these other guys. In One Piece, there's an alliance of hundreds of countries known as the World Government, which maintains an enormous naval force and has tremendous resources. Luffy has on more than one occasion made all-out assaults against some of the World Government's major installations. In fact, when he realized that his friend's history with the World Government had led her to feel like he was all-powerful and she could never escape it, he burns down their flag at their most important courthouse. Basically, Luffy declared war on the entire world for the sake of one person. That's beyond epic. Another thing that makes Luffy stand out is that however strong the bonds of friendship are, he is the captain of the ship. Now there are a lot of orders he gives on the spur of the moment, and he can get talked out of those or simply ignored and it's no problem. But if he gives something serious thought and makes a real decision, his decision is final. And he actually kicked Usopp off the crew for insubordination. So I like that for all the importance he places on friendship, he can also live up to the role of captain and really lay down the law if he has to. Likewise, he kind of expects his friends to do what they have to, even if that means opposing or fighting him. One of his earliest friends is Kobe, a boy who dreamed of being a Marine. And Luffy supported that goal, even helped him get into the Marines. So now they're enemies and friends. It's kind of a rivalry, and Luffy does expect Kobe to do his best as a Marine, and if Kobe ever has the chance to capture Luffy, he'd better take it, or Luffy would never forgive him. All in all, Luffy's not really that complex a character. He doesn't do anything much that's particularly unique, but he's the best there is at what he does, and what he does is badass.